Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Storms. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at RobertStorms84. This is going to be my review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the extended edition, the Ultimate Edition that came out digitally last night at 12 a.m. I did go ahead and take notes throughout this film, so I will be referring to my notes a few times. I will tell you, Batman v Superman was the most anticipated film in theaters this year. I don't think any movie was more anticipated than that film. And oddly enough, the Blu-ray slash digital slash this ultimate cut was probably the most anticipated VOD, Blu-ray, DVD release ever. I don't remember ever seeing a movie that so many people were just waiting to watch when they get it on digital, VOD, Blu-ray, or DVD. Now we still got a couple weeks before it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD. So if you go to like the PlayStation Store, Apple TV, iTunes, Amazon, all of this stuff, you can get the digital copy, which I got is $19.99. So that's what I did. I watched the 3-hour cut, and I'm gonna go over the pros and cons of this version. So I wrote down a lot of stuff, and let's go over some of the pros. Let's jump into the pros because in this movie, the 3-hour cut is a much better cut. This movie had a much better flow. It wasn't like the theater version where you had a 1,000-piece puzzle and 20 pieces missing, and then what you get at the end is a half piece of a half puzzle, a half completed puzzle. That's what that theater version was. That was the theatrical version. You had a 1,000-piece puzzle with 25 pieces missing, and you didn't get to see the whole picture. This movie, you saw the whole picture. We do get confirmation that the photographer in the beginning that gets killed is in fact Jimmy Olsen. Now that was released shortly after the movie was released in theaters. There was confirmation. I believe Zack Snyder or someone came out and said, hey, yeah, that was Jimmy Olsen. We get confirmation. Why that was cut out to begin with, who knows? The Africa story, the desert story, is completely flushed out. That storyline plays a huge role in this movie. And I wouldn't say 90, about 80, 85% of that was cut from the theatrical version. So the reason why that movie in theaters felt so unbalanced was because the main plot points of the story was taken out of it. I don't know if this was Zack Snyder's doing, WB went in there and played around with it, or it was the editors trying to make something happen. But whoever did it did a horrible job. You take the center story of this, you take the pieces out, no wonder it was a jumbled mess. The woman who goes in front of Senate saying Superman killed my family, blah blah blah, is another key portion of the movie because later on in this version we find out that she was hired by Lex to lie to the Senate, saying that Superman killed her family in Africa when the whole thing in the desert went down. She was hired by Lex to lie, to set up Superman, to make him look like the villain, which in turn makes Bruce Wayne question him even more to where he wants to try to take this monster down. Huge plot point, completely taken out of the theatrical version. We get more Clark Kent in this version, going over to Gotham, investigating. I believe he first went over there basically just to look, or he was supposed to do this football game. He goes over there and he starts hearing this stuff about the Bat Vigilante. He goes to visit the woman who accused Superman of what he did in Africa. He goes to find her, but she already left. And trying to find her, he starts putting his pieces together where Batman is like taking these criminals, branding them, doing all this, and he starts doing more investigation. So as he's doing that, he wants to stop Batman for what he thinks is cruel punishment. Much like Daredevil in the Punisher situation. When the Senate, now let's talk about when the Senate explodes. When they have that meeting where the guy in the wheelchair comes in and everything explodes, Superman's in the fire. That's also not a huge scene, but it's a scene that was completely ash raped in the theatrical version. How come Superman didn't stop this guy? How come Superman didn't know? Well, because in this version, we find out that Lex, the wheelchair he gave him, was outlined in lead. Superman can't see through lead. He was unable to see the bomb. And at that point, also, the senator finds out that the woman who accused Superman of killing her family was hired by Lex. So in order for Lex to try to cover that up, he had to basically take out the Senate. So it was basically Lex was a mastermind through this whole thing that we didn't get to see in the theatrical version. He was playing all these different chess pieces on the board, trying to set up the two kings on each side to go against each other, which is Batman versus Superman. And we see where, in order to try to hide the secret, he planted the bomb in the wheelchair, made the whole chair out of lead, or outlined it in lead so Superman couldn't see it. And then when it exploded, it took out all evidence of the senator knowing anything about Lex's plot. Makes a lot of sense. Why was it taken out? I don't know. Another thing is, at the end of that explosion, we see Superman saving some people. The people that survived, he's saving them, taking them to safety, and then he takes off. So that was some of the pros. There's a lot of pros, a lot of good stuff that just got taken out for no reason whatsoever. I do have a couple cons, only 4 cons really. And the thing is, if they wanted to cut out stuff in this movie, there's plenty of stuff to cut out because that's listed under my con. The Man-Bat dream sequence, completely worthless. That's 5 minutes that you could have taken out. The dream scenes with him in the desert, Batman in the desert, completely unnecessary. Will this set up something future in the Justice League movie? Possibly, but it doesn't need to be in this movie at all. It could be completely taken out. That's another 10 minutes. You're saving 15 minutes there. So that's 15 minutes you could have took out for the stuff that you needed to keep in that you took out in the theatrical version. Also, the Justice League cameos on the PC, the little teaser trailer, another scene that could have got taken out. That's easily another 10 minutes. So that's just 25 minutes right there that you could have taken out from that film. The Man-Bat, the Dream, the Justice League stuff, you could have took that stuff out, saved yourself 20 to 25 minutes, and guess what? All that important stuff you could have kept in, and you still would have had a 2-hour and 35-minute movie. So they just took the wrong stuff out. That's why I really want to know who is involved in the editing process, who came up with this final cut, because they should lose their job. It's a pretty bad job when you have this stuff. Like, I know you want to set up for future movies. I know you want to do that, but there's a way to go about it. You can cut all that Wonder Woman stuff looking at the laptop completely out. You could just show her on the plane. She sees what's going on with Doomsday. She leaves and shows up in the fight with Doomsday. You don't need her to sit there and look through all these. We don't need to see Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg. We don't need to see all those trailers, okay? There's different ways you can tease that without having to stop the movie right before this epic battle and watch these 3 to 4 teaser trailers. It doesn't make sense. Should have been taken out. Another pet peeve of mine, which is not a huge con, just something personal for me, is Jena Malone's character. I love Jena Malone. I like every movie she's in. I really, really like her. I think she's attractive. I'm really hoping she's going to play Barbara Gordon, but she ends up just being sort of a scientist, I think, for Star Labs, and she's analyzing the bullet, and she's the one that tells Lois about the wheelchair being outlined in lead, and that's where she goes, well, Superman can't see through lead. So she plays a role, but she doesn't play the role I want her to play, and that's why I said it's not really a con. It's just like a nitpick for me because I really like Jena Malone. I really wanted to see her play Barbara Gordon or Carrie Kelly as the other Robin. I just really wish that would have happened. That didn't happen, but other than that, a lot of good stuff in this thing. Whoever cut the theatrical version did a god-awful job, did a disservice to that movie. Because, like I said, and I've been very critical about this movie. You guys know by my reviews, by my tweets, by my Facebook posts, I was very critical about the theatrical version. It was sloppy. It was unedited right. It was just a horrible mess of a movie. And I keep telling everybody, stop being a fanboy, watch it, and pay attention to the movie. Don't judge the whole movie for the last 30 minutes of the movie. You can't judge the whole movie on the great 30 minutes at the end of the movie. The movie, the way it is now in this ultimate cut, the payoff at the end is so much more better because we see the smooth transition on everything bubbling to a head and everything coming together. Is this still a perfect movie? God, no. But from where I gave it a 5.5 out of 10, this is easily now an 8 movie. I believe this movie was released in theater. You would have had a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes, and this movie would have made over $1 billion. But instead, the executives up at Warner Brothers don't know what they're doing, which is clear by all the changes they made since the release of this film. And by doing that, they basically sabotaged their own film. So, Batman v Superman, Ultimate Cut, is it worth it? I definitely think it is. I think it's a much better movie. If you would just get rid of those few sequences that I talked about, this would have been a clean-cut film. Good to watch, good movie in theater. It would have been a nice 2 hours, 35 minutes if you would just cut that little excess garbage off, and it's a much better film. It moves a lot better. Storyline. There's still a little bit of script issues, but other than that, you see everybody's motives. You see Clark's motives. You see Lex's motives. You see Bruce's motives. You see everybody's motives. Sure, the Martha scene still had a place. I know where they were going, but it was poorly executed. But other than that, you forgive it for all the other stuff that they did right in this movie. A theatrical cut just did it disservice. So I definitely think you guys go check it out. If you're going to wait for Blu-ray, you can wait. I believe it comes out on the 17th of July. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's my review of Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. So I went from basically an average movie, which would be a C, to a B. Is definitely a much better movie this way, and I enjoyed it. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Follow me Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at RobertStorms84. And until next time, guys, I'm Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.